the cross. It is important, and it is terrible doctrine. All right? You need to understand that. It is false doctrine. My brother went to task on this when they wouldn't allow the church that he had been, or the school that he had been a part of starting, they wouldn't allow the leadership to be from the Church of Christ that was down the road, that sent more and more children to their school, and then they wanted to become leaders of the school and teachers of the school. And he took a stand and says, no, this is false doctrine. This is damnable doctrine. And they said, oh, they're such good people. In fact, they're nicer than the people in your church. Well, that may have been true, because Christians still have sin natures, okay? Christians still can be stinkers sometimes. But the truth of the matter is, this is not a gospel of pure grace. It's not Jesus Christ, and it is a big deal. It is saying Jesus Christ was not enough. His blood was not enough. You got to get baptized too. You got to do something. That's what it's saying. How about another example of works salvation churches? A church believing grace salvation, but preaching continually a kind of works Christian living in order for you to satisfy God and hold on to your salvation. Did you get all that? They preach it's Jesus Christ. You need to receive, you need to be saved. But then the continual preaching in the church is that you're going to lose your salvation. If you fall into sin, you're going to lose your salvation. If you do this, you do this, you do this. So it's a kind of a law that you have to live by the law in order to keep your salvation. That is a tainted view of salvation. It is not good. The Mennonites, the background that I have, they preach that you can lose your salvation. And so there is always this feeling, this idea of trying to be good enough in order to be saved, to keep saved, however you want to say it. I know that there are genuine believers within the Mennonite church. I know there's genuine believers among the Free Will Baptist churches. How many of you are familiar with any Free Will Baptist churches? All right, but it's the same kind of thing. If you sin to a certain point or bad enough or whatever that line is that they think, you lose your salvation. All right? This is not good. There are also Pentecostals that are the same way, and this is an overshadowing of at least a works assurance, if not a works salvation. And there's problems with that. You shouldn't attend a church like that. You shouldn't attend a church that doesn't believe that Jesus is enough for salvation. They want to add anything to it. Let the bells go off. Ding, ding, ding. Run, 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 run. Grab your kids out of the nursery and go. Okay? Let them be accursed. Wow. A church preaching the social gospel of entering heaven by good works is also one that is not a pure grace church. The idea that you can do these things and be a good person and it'll get you to heaven. Most mainline denominations are like this. United Methodist churches, Presbyterian churches, Presbyterian USA, these mainstream churches, and it's basically a social gospel of being good. Now imagine what they're saying there. If you're good enough, they would say in their doctrine, they pulled out their constitution, it would say salvation by the cross, without a doubt. Okay? Presbyterians, Methodists, there was a time when Presbyterians, the Methodists, and the Baptists all had meetings together, and their doctrine was solid on salvation, without a doubt. Listen to me. That's not what's happening today in American mainstream. In mainstream denominations that call themselves Protestant, that's not what you see there at all. It is a social gospel. American Baptist churches are in this idea. I spent a lot of time in the South, some Southern Baptist churches are this way. It's not uncommon to know of a Southern Baptist church that have somewhere in the past left off preaching the gospel, and now it's a matter of being a part of that denomination or this idea of just being good people. I've always been Baptist. Amen. I remember witnessing to a guy one time coming up to his house, and he was sitting there, a cigarette in one hand, Budweiser in the other hand. He said, "What are you talking about? I'm a deacon in my Baptist church, Southern Baptist church. You know, I've been in Baptist church. Ask me if he's saved. I've been going to Baptist church all my life." That was his answer. Are you saved? I've been going to Baptist church all my life. Okay, there's a problem. That is a works salvation. He believes he's working his way there because of what he's doing, being a Baptist. How about a church that talks doctrine of Jesus but specifies other things to be saved? That is, you got to belong to this organization. Or you have to, infant baptism. You have to be baptized into the covenant of salvation or into the church. How about that you have to regularly confess or have a co-redemptress? Does this sound familiar? Mary Okay, of course I'm speaking of Catholicism, that flat out has a whole series of things that are not pure grace, that are some kind of works. Turn over to chapter 5, please, of Galatians. We're going to finish up Galatians chapter 5. Notice what it says. Verse number 1, Galatians 5, beginning number 1. It says, "Stand fast in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage." Look up here. Somebody tell me what liberty is talking about here. You know the context? Just scan back over the last couple of verses of chapter 4 and you'll find it. What is the liberty? Standing fast in the liberty of Christ. Freedom, yes, liberty is freedom, but what is the freedom specifically in the book of Galatians? Anybody know? Okay, I heard it all together there. Yes, free from the law, free from trying to live out the law, free from trying to live perfect by works or doing something or being circumcised or whatever, of doing these things. And he says in chapter 5, the glorious word, "Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Behold, I, Paul, say unto you, that if ye be circumcised, that if you're trusting in your circumcision, Christ shall profit you nothing. For I testify again to every man that is circumcised, that he is a debtor to do the whole law." Now look up here, not the fact that the guy is circumcised, but the fact that he's trusting that is somehow to appease God or to save him. Look at verse number 4. "Christ is become of no effect unto you, whosoever you are justified by the law. You're fallen from grace." What sad words, you're fallen from grace. Or you are not trusting in grace. What's it talking about? If you're counting on something else that you're doing to save you, like some act, you're not trusting Him alone. Don't go to a church. Don't choose a church that would mix anything into Jesus Christ, that would try to in any way influence you, that salvation can come by anything but Christ. Verse 4 clearly says that that kind of idea makes you fallen from grace. That is, you're not trusting grace for salvation. You're trusting in something else. Folks, listen to me. Anything that is added to Jesus is some kind of trusting something else. You can't ask, as I pull this, I'll pull this out once again. In most church constitutions, if you were to get out, what does mainline Presbyterian USA churches believe? What does United Methodist Church? You will find usually in their doctrine a clear statement of salvation by Jesus Christ, because that's what that church 100 years ago believed. But that's not what's being practiced there. If they mix anything into Jesus Christ, they no longer have pure grace, just that Jesus saves. What a liberty we have tonight, that Jesus only saves. So the answer to the question that we're talking about here of choosing a church according to Christ's intentions is this: Christ intended that churches preach the gospel, and the gospel only is grace. That is the only gospel. You might take a message like this and say, well, you know, what should I do with something like this? Can I ask you a question? Do you have some dear loved friend or some dear family member that you really need the courage to be able to share, that you say, I could never do this, this would hinder our relationship? Is it better to take the risk of hurting a relationship and telling somebody the truth, or to leave them in an accursed church? Can I ask you that? It's not the same. It's not the same of being in a church that preaches the pure grace gospel of Jesus Christ, where there is a great liberty. When you're choosing churches, and as I told you last week, I hope God never takes you away from here. I hope we're here until the rapture happens. But when you're choosing churches, make sure that that church, building means very little. The hymn books really mean very little. Even the songs that we sing mean very little. Even the old Constitution means very little. What is being preached? What is being presented? Is it pure grace? That's the kind of church you want to be in.